Hello everyone, and welcome to our channel. If you are looking for deep inspiration and want to discover how to raise your level of consciousness, then you are in the right place. In today's video, I propose some excerpts from a speech by Paramahansa Yogananda dedicated to the Bhagavad Gita, the famous Indian sacred text that shows us how we can free ourselves from the bonds of the material world. Before starting, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you will not miss the next contents dedicated to spiritual growth and awareness.
The Bhagavad Gita is one of the most revered sacred texts in India. You can think of it as a divine song that connects each person to their creator. Think of it as music that speaks directly to the soul and that we must listen to or sing constantly because it helps us remember where we came from and what our true nature is. The Gita teaches us that God is present in everything that exists. We can imagine God as a vast ocean and we living beings as waves on its surface. At a superficial glance, we might say that each wave is separate from the other. In truth, all the waves are part of the one sea. The entire nature, with its laws and immense variety, arises from a single reality. However, due to a magic veil called Maya, the one appears to us fragmented into multiple forms. It's a bit like when we dream. Within a single dream, we can become different characters and experience different plots. But if we wake up, we realize that everything came from a single mind. When the Gita speaks of renunciation, sannyasa, it does not mean to suggest that we completely detach ourselves from the world or isolate ourselves in a cave, but rather that we loosen the grip of the ego, that rigid idea that we are merely a separate body and mind. Through yoga meditation Samadhi, we learn to rest in God, the great cosmic dreamer, and to remember that we are part of Him. In Samadhi, the illusion of being separate vanishes. We feel united with the Supreme Being, the infinite source of knowledge and bliss. It is not something that can be achieved by reading books or listening to speeches, because a theoretical approach is not enough. It requires a daily commitment, like constant training, to live reality as a great film of which we can discover the background. The Gita invites us to act rightly, physically, mentally, and spiritually, to realize our true purpose, to return to God consciousness. Yoga, the science of union with the divine, is the means that helps us on this journey.
Raise your level of consciousness. Excerpt from the Lessons of Paramahansa Yogananda.
As long as we remain submerged in daily problems, which may manifest themselves as sensual temptations, excessive desires, negative habits, fears, doubts, or excessive attachment to material things, we are not the true masters of our inner life. We can compare the consciousness blocked in the ego to a wild horse that runs everywhere without guidance, scared or attracted by 1,000 different stimuli. In this condition, we identify with the body and its sensations, fearing death, poverty, disease, and are stuck in worries about reputation, material possessions, or social roles. On a spiritual level, we even find it difficult to believe that anything exists beyond the physical dimension. Many of us feel like fish in a pond. We do not realize that, just beyond, there is a limitless ocean. Born from the omnipresent Spirit, we have convinced ourselves that we are small, separate beings, and this belief makes us suffer. We are constantly struggling with disease, aging, and limitations of all kinds because we have forgotten our infinite nature. Yet the Gita reassures us. The soul can break free from this sense of separation and rediscover its true essence, which is divine and boundless. True wisdom, then, is to understand that the soul is not trapped in matter, a bit like a bird that discovers that it can escape the cage when it remembers its ability to fly. As long as we focus on the waves of everyday problems, we remain at the mercy of their coming and going. But if we realize that we are the ocean itself, we can reach a state of deep calm. In such a state, every change, pain or pleasure, sickness or health, life or death, appears as a superficial movement on a seabed that always remains peaceful and immutable. To clarify the concept of calm, the Gita describes 4 steps. Always restless, never calm. At this stage, the mind is like a constantly stormy sea. The ego and unbridled desires push thoughts in all directions, making any practice of introspection difficult. We are easily distracted and dominated by unstable emotions. Here the goal is to recognize our condition of constant agitation and begin to desire a change. Even just realizing how restless we are is already a first step towards calm. Sometimes restless, sometimes calm. In this second step, we begin to experience moments of peace, especially when we meditate or when we are strongly motivated to improve ourselves. However, we are still vulnerable to attacks from the ego which bring us back to the state of agitation. It is like having a sea in which sometimes the waves calm down, but only a small contrary wind can disturb the surface again. Here, meditation and self-discipline become even more important because they reinforce the moments of calm and encourage us to continue. Mostly calm, with a few brief moments of restlessness. At this stage, our inner sea is mostly calm. Agitated thoughts and impulsive reactions are very limited. We are able to maintain a certain balance, to remain centered even under pressure. If waves of anxiety or restlessness arise, we are able to manage them quickly, returning to calm fairly quickly. This is a sign that our meditation practice and our spiritual journey are producing tangible results. Always calm, never restless. This is the ultimate goal, a state in which the soul constantly maintains a deep inner peace. Even in the face of difficult situations, there is no mental or emotional turbulence. Here, our identification with the ego is minimal, and in its place is a continuous sense of connection with divine consciousness. It is like a calm sea in every season, a state of bliss and clarity from which there is no turning back. It is a state possible through a long and serious path of inner practice, meditation, and dedication to spiritual growth. When we are dominated by the ego, our mind resembles a stormy sea. As we practice meditation and cultivate right thoughts and actions, this storm gradually calms down, as if we learn the art of taming rough waves. With time and practice, our consciousness becomes more stable, and periods of calm emerge more and more often, until calm triumphs altogether. In this inner victory, anxieties, fears, uncontrolled desires, pride, attachments, and old habits no longer dominate our mind, which instead flourishes in harmony and wisdom. The person who decides to put these truths into practice learns precise techniques to free the soul from the influence of matter and the ego. He performs thoughts and actions in harmony with divine laws, gradually evolving, The yogi instead chooses to accelerate his progress with scientific meditation, which is a way of reversing the flow of consciousness. Instead of flowing only from the center outward, the senses and the physical world, consciousness begins to rise again inward and upward, passing through the cerebrospinal centers, the same energy channels that brought the soul into the body. Even those who are at the beginning of the path, with a little constant practice, begin to perceive a spiritual force that gives light and new vitality to the body and mind. The more you progress, the more you feel connected to a divine current, capable of completely changing the quality of your life. As our awareness expands from simple identification with the body to a broader vision of being part of the entire cosmos, we experience gradual stages that lead towards superconsciousness. The determination to find God. Through meditation taught by a true master guru, we realize that seeking God is not a luxury for a few, but a deep need of the soul. As a result, we begin to lose interest in worldly attachments, material goods, small circles of limiting friends. But this is not coldness, it is rather an expansion of love, which now includes everyone. The resistance of inner restlessness. Even after we have let go of some external attachments, we find that the mind remains anchored to distractions, doubts, and vague thoughts. However, brief flashes of peace push us to continue, to persist. The silence of perceptions. By deepening yoga techniques, the yogi tries to silence the external senses and also the internal sensations, like a musician who turns down the volume of all the instruments to concentrate on the subtlest sound. The goal is to direct all energy and attention toward God. Breath and heart control, pranayama. Through specific exercises, the yogi learns to consciously calm both the breath and the heartbeats, channeling the vital energy into the spine, flowing through the internal centers from the bottom up. Superconsciousness. When the heart is quieted at will, one enters a state of perfect conscious stillness. It is like a dreamless sleep, but lived with lucidity and joy. In this way, tiredness and tension melt away, and a bliss comes that far surpasses any pleasure offered by the external world. In superconsciousness, our headlights of perception move inward. Imagine having 5 torches pointing outward: sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch, and 5 torches hidden inside, allowing us to see and hear God. Usually we only use external torches to explore physical reality, but in meditation we learn to turn them off, lighting instead the internal torches, which illuminate the astral world and the higher planes of existence. In this astral world, we experience bright lights, inner colors and sounds, and a sensation of infinite space, as if our consciousness could stretch out without boundaries. In ordinary life, we are used to seeing only concrete things: faces, plants, mountains, and so on. In the astral realm, however, everything is felt as a vibrant energy of God, an incessant flow of light. We could think of a firework that never runs out, always in motion and always full of wonder. All the objects we consider physical, a beautiful face, a flower, change over time. The face ages, the flower fades, and this reminds us of the transience of the external world. Astral beauty, on the other hand, does not fade. It transforms and shines endlessly. Once this inner reality is experienced, the illusion of finding true and lasting happiness in temporary things is lost. In the superconsciousness, even the body, from a solid shell that it seemed, appears as a network of luminous energies and thoughts. The yogi who raises his attention along the various energy centers of the spine, from the coccyx associated with the earth to the top of the head, grasps the true nature of things. At the deepest level, everything is made of subtle vibrations called prana. As he ascends, he perceives the element of water, then fire, air, ether, and finally understands that all matter is dense thought. It is easy to say, everything is energy, or everything is thought, but it is one thing to repeat it with the mind, another to live it as reality, the fruit of a genuine meditative experience. Only by practicing consistently and with the help of a master can we arrive at that inner certainty that makes us say with conviction, we are part of a divine dream, and all matter is a reflection of that one consciousness. A story illustrates the idea that matter is thought. It is said of a great Indian master who, traveling with his disciples from village to village, one day agreed to eat meat so as not to disappoint a believer who had offered the meal. However, he advised his disciples to eat only fruit. Later, as they were walking through a thick forest, a disciple began to complain that the master was proclaiming the illusory nature of matter, but was eating meat. When they came to a blacksmith who was forging red-hot nails, the master grabbed some of these nails and ate them as if they were ordinary food, inviting the disciple to do the same. That episode, symbolic and extreme, served to demonstrate that those who truly control profound reality know that everything is spirit, and that the differences we see, flesh or red-hot iron, no longer affect them on an internal level. Of course, we do not have to imitate him to the letter. The lesson is that words and theories are not enough to reach this awareness. It takes authentic spiritual work and the discipline of meditation to perceive the universe as pure thought energy. With sufficient yogic training and an awakening of consciousness, we can truly understand that everything is a dream of God in motion. But until we go to these depths, we remain in the realm of theoretical idea.
This excerpt is from the book God Talks with Arjuna by Paramahansa Yogananda. If this video was helpful or inspired you even a little, leave a like and share it with anyone you think might appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so you can continue to receive content dedicated to spirituality, inner growth, and the discovery of our divine potential. Thanks for staying with me until the end, and see you next time.